Rabbit. Shane here, daily-astrocat. Astrology time for you, right? We got astrology. Okay, so let's talk about this. Today is Monday, and rabbit must mean it is the 1st of December. And it is. It's the 1st of December. So the moon in Aries is void of course at 1:14 p.m. Okay, our moon's going to start in Aries. And it enters practical Taurus at 10:13 in the evening. Ooh, we haven't had a long void of course for a while, right? For a while, they were for back in the summertime, there was a bunch of them that were crazy, and they were actually pretty good. There was some good energy there. Today, not so much, because we've got that moon kind of like void of course between Aries and Taurus, wanting to get out of Aries and head into Taurus. The moon likes it in Taurus, right? So she'd rather be in Taurus than in Aries. So it's like all that impetuousness of the Aries is just like lost on her for the afternoon. She's just going to be like, no, I'm checked out. And so emotionally we'll be checked out during the afternoon. So we got a chance in the morning to have it be ripe for action. But it's tough action. Remember, the folks are going to have tough questions for you. Why can't they just enjoy Cyber Monday, right? Gather most of your information you need for the 3D. First thing in the morning. Get it done, right? The Taurus moon doesn't come till later on. Usually we like our work weeks to start with the earth signs, right? But tomorrow will actually be a better day for that. But this morning, we're going to get our facts together. Now, if we can act before the moon's void of course at 1:14, then that would be great, because that is going to be a Jupiter square, moon-Jupiter square. That's the last aspect. And that's how these void of course moons work. Whatever the last aspect is, it's got to be a major aspect. It can't be a quincunx, so it can't be a quincunx or anything like that. But sextile on down, it can't be a quintile, it can't be a sesquic square or any other of those funky things that you may have heard some other people using, or you might be saying, what are you saying, Shane? What is this quincunx stuff? All right, but there's certain charts, ephemerae, that you'll see this in. And what'll happen is that we just, are just lost. We're void of course, right? We're just like, okay, the moon doesn't have any other aspects until she enters the other sign. So that's really how void of course moon works. The last aspect that the moon makes in a sign is when the void of course begins, until she enters the next sign and then has another aspect when she enters the next sign. There's been times where we've gone an entire day, we've had them recently, without any aspects. We like to call those focused moons. However, if there's no aspects, but there's an aspect at the end, it's that last aspect that the moon makes. So we can have an entire day be focused, or we've even had entire days be void of course, right? Just depends on how it falls. But that's how void of course moons work. So when I talk about a void of course moon, you'll see that what I'm talking about is that last aspect that the moon makes until she enters the new sign. And that period is usually like a little itty-bitty kind of retrograde, right? We don't like to really start anything when the moon is void of course. We don't like to commit to many things. The Reagan White House was famous for holding press conferences during void of course moon periods. That's because Nancy, the First Lady, consulted an astrologer daily, and they would say, hey, announce this during this point here, because things that are said during a void of course moon don't really stick. And that's why Ronald Reagan had the image of Teflon Ron, right? It didn't stick to him because he was very strategic about when they had press conferences. They didn't have very many either. It wasn't not like it was today. So let's talk about something else now. The void of course afternoon should be spent reloading and rewinding, winding up. We got to wind up for a push later on in the week. Okay, got a full moon coming on Thursday. Success during the early morning hours will actually come to people who are gifted in communication, because there's a Mercury aspect there. It's going to be really, really cool. Okay, so make sure you have all your facts before you propose them when the moment seems right. There's an intuitive flow to this as well. Okay? If you can't do it before the moon is square Jupiter, we just went through that whole thing about the void of course, right? That's that last aspect before the void, at the void of course, moon square Jupiter, and then the moon won't be into Taurus until 10:13 in the evening. Then just leave it for later, okay? Now, that is the last aspect. Now, at that point, you can dazzle them with some technology, okay? Because when the moon is finally in Taurus, because we're going to have some Venus and Pluto action going on there, right? A little bit of technology attraction, right? Our facility with technology can be attractive to some, correct? And today's keyword is patience. You got to be patient to get through this, and you got to be patient to get through that moon that's waiting to go through. Get into Taurus, right? She's last aspect in Aries. It's like, yeah, no, let's just hold off on this. Look, the color is pink and green. Now, the tempo is slowing down. The game is beginning to wear a bit thin. Yeah, you can feel it, right? You're just like, oh my God, it's just every day, more. What, how much more? Empty Libra, there's no planets in Libra right now, tell us that we're on our own for the most part. Mercury entering Sagittarius will give us a fine boost here in the first week. Seriously, we've got a little bit of communication, a little bit of an uptick in it, especially with Mercury being direct, right? We got Mercury direct. So, when Mercury enters Sagittarius, and it will do so very soon, okay, we're going to get that boost. But right now, we're going through that shadow period where we're talking about our desires and stuff like that and moving towards them. And that's where we're going to be putting our thoughts and our attention into accumulating more, because that's that Scorpio hunger. So we're retracking that. And pretty soon, Mercury's going to swing into that position where it's in the kite, and that kite will be activated all the way around. We'll have a cradle that's activated, so we're going to have a good defense, and we're going to be just lifted up and brought skyward, on the wings of eagles, so to speak. So let's do this. There are bigger trends here that are forming that are similarly slowing down, right? We're going to need to refocus on health today, and I really have to hear this. A lot of people are like, oh, why is this guy telling us about health? No, this is for me. This is for me to listen to and say, okay, enough of the holiday nonsense. Start it now. Let's go for some portion control or something like that, okay? And the moon in Aries is active, but we can feel a resistance that Saturn is beginning to give Mars. And that's because Mars is the ruler of Aries. So whatever Mars is going through and feeling in Sagittarius, pushing, hopeful, optimistic, yet Saturn is there square. So now we have obstacles and we have to slow down because we're going to have to change up our approach as we get closer to Mars entering Capricorn. That is going to be one of the keys that's going to be like, okay, it's making us slow down, all right? And the sun will be approaching that point as well. This means we should ratchet up efforts that aren't affected by seasonal factors that are beginning to oppose our 3D efforts. So, when one thing slows down, we accelerate another one, right? That's how we keep it going. And, look, the problem is that when the moon in Aries is feeling this resistance with Mars and Saturn, this affects us psychologically. We're beginning to see things slow down in this respect. So in that weighs on our minds just a little bit. So get early to bed, early to rise. You know that stuff. Taurus values rest and sleep. And Taurus values are rest and sleep as well, right? That's how you save up all your energy to be stubborn. All right, get yourself to bed on time tonight. All right, so our event is one that kind of blows my mind. In 2003, okay, you ready for this? The Return of the King, the third and final film in the Lord of the Rings series, directed by Peter Jackson and starring Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen, premieres in Wellington, New Zealand. That's 22 years ago, guys, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, folks, all right? And our birth is Madame Tussaud, okay? This is how they put her in the event calendar. She's born in 1761. She died in 1850. She's the French founder. So surprise, right? Madame Tussaud of Madame Tussaud's Wax Museum in London. And she's born in Strasbourg, France. And that's what I have for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I got to tell you, TikTok has been amazing, all right? Just crazy. Up over... Just nuts. Yesterday's daily episode with the Sunday astrology was over 1,000 views. It's fantastic. Leave comments. Share it for later. Share it with somebody that you know. All right? That would be a great help get the word out there. Maybe we can get to make this a regular thing. Or save it for later to go back and watch it, because that always helps boost the number as well. I appreciate and love every single one of you for doing that. TikTok, we got some interesting stuff over there, too. If you go and look at the Sunday version of yesterday's over there, you can get the Petals of Venus episode, and that'll be helpful, too. I thank you very much for watching. To recap, our color is pink and green. Okay, think of the Nevermind the Bullocks, Here Comes the Sex Pistols album, and you'll get my drift. Or maybe London Calling, but a clash. It had a yellow and green thing going on with it, too. And the key word is patience. And that's all I have for you. Today is a 5. Happy astrocatting.